Hi, this is Kate with Kate's Paper Creations, and I welcome you to my monthly Paper Pumpkin Alternatives video and blog for February of 2021. I'm going to start out by just showing you, first of all, I make a case for my Paper Pumpkin stamp sets, and I just bring the pictures in and create a case each year. I make them for all of my subscribers and give them this little case cover, and each year the color of the top and the spine are different so that they can keep track of which ones came out which year. But anyway, this shows you what's in there for stamps. This lovely bouquet, some little drops look like raindrops, some sentiments, and some little flowers. So that's what's in the kit for the stamps. Then there are some really pretty lovely foil accent. There is some punch outs for a bouquet, 3 of those. There's some of these little things. There's a few of these. Just kind of want you to see some of those. There's sticky backed sentiments in French, German, and English. And I'm going to show you some tricks with those in a minute. There's some tags for sentiments that have a lovely mossy meadow accent around them. Then there's the envelopes, which you will see me probably cut some of them apart to use as papers, but they have 3 lovely patterns. Then there's also 3 different card fronts, so it has enough to make 9 different cards. These are some really pretty colors. Typically what I do when I'm making Paper Pumpkin projects is I cut these in half. Use one for a card front, then I have a second one to make more cards with, and then I remount them onto basic white thick cardstock. That's a way to make your kits go farther. And if you're just getting Paper Pumpkin, I would definitely recommend that you look into at least some basics, like basic white thick for card bases, because I'm going to always be using something like that when I make my alternatives, even though I try to stay with the kit contents as much as possible. And then there are also these lovely foil rectangles. So that's that. I did want to share with you the coordinating colors that go with this set are Rococo Rose, Bumblebee, Just Jade, Mossy Meadow, and Merry Merlot. These are the colors that coordinate with your Paper Pumpkin kit. And so if you are a more avid stamper and you have these in your supplies, this will help you make even more alternatives than if you didn't have them. There are also some black sequins, and of course there's some Mossy Meadow thread, and then of course the standard adhesives, the little mini glue dots and the dimensionals. So that's what's in the kit. Now let's see what we can come up with to make some alternative projects. Okay, so I'm ready to show you some of what I came up with for my alternatives for this month. And this is the first one. Get my little notes here so I can explain it to you while you look at it. This is basic white thick base, and as I've said before, it's just a staple to have around if you're going to want to make alternatives or add to your kits, because every time you get a card base like this, you can cut it in half and make 2 card fronts and have lots of color and stuff. So I keep a lot of that around. I took one of the card fronts, and I cut it in half, so there were 2 pieces like this. Cut it down. This is, let's get to the things right here. I cut this with the edge with the curvy dies. So that's a non-kit piece, curvy dies. And then I cut a piece of the inside of one of the envelopes that looks like this. And I just put it behind there and then trimmed it off so it matched the edge. And this is one of the card fronts, as I said here, and it is cut to, let me get measurements for you, 4 by 5 1/4. And then I just laid this piece on top of it. And this piece is 5 1/4 tall, and it is overall 3 3/4 wide. And I just put it on here so I'd have that little bit of an edge. Then I stamped this with the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I colored it with Blends pens, and I used Rococo Rose, light and dark, and Just Jade, light and dark. And the bow I colored with the Bumblebee marker. This is stamped, it's the sentiment in the set. It is stamped on one of the tags that are in the set, and it is stamped with Just Jade, and it is attached with dimensionals. So there's card number 1. Here is card number 2. For card number 2, I took one of these gold filigree pieces, and I turned it over and held it in place and used Versamark ink and a dauber, and I just held it in place and used the dauber, pushed it in good and hard so that the Versamark went through. And of course I used the embossing buddy to keep it from being any powder going where I didn't want it. And then I embossed it with white embossing powder, so it has a nice little shimmer to it. And it came out almost looking a little bit gray, but I like the look of it. And then this is one of the Thinking of Yous that's in the set. And it's just stuck down, and I put a couple of rhinestones for the eyes, for the 2 eyes in the word thinking. So this one for the kit was the back of one of these cards cut in half. And so it is 4 by 5 1/4, and it's on the base, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. And then this is the Thinking of You. That's one of the things in the set. And the rhinestones are non-set. So a little bit of non-kit there. But that's that card number 2. Okay, for card number 3, this is again just a basic white thick base, 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4 to make a top fold A2 greeting card. This is the inside of one of the envelopes, again cut down, and it measures 4 by 3. And then this Thinking of You is one of the sticky backed stickers in the kit. And then these are some of the flowers, and I saw someone else doing this, and I really liked the technique. They cut them so that they fit around the corners, and so that's what I did. I just took and cut them to make them fit around the corners. And that's card number 3. Then here is card number 4. And you know how I've always talked about how you keep the negatives when you are taking apart your kit. And we had a page that these tags came out of, and it created a thing with 5 sections. I only used 4 of them. I cut the 5th one off because in the set is this stamp set that's all one piece, Sharing in Your Sorrow, Thinking of You, and Wishing I Could Be There to Hold Your Hand. And I just used the Mary Merlot marker, and I just colored one line of the words at a time, stamped them in each of the spaces. This frame that I saved, I brushed it with the blending brushes and Mary Merlot. These little flowers in each section are stamped with Rococo Rose, and the smallest 3mm pearls are put in the centers of those flowers. I then glued this to a piece, the frame piece, to a piece of basic Whisper White, and it is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. So it leaves that 1/8 inch border all the way around. And again, this is one of the card fronts that I cut in half. So you can see I used both halves of that card, of a card like this, cut in half to make 2 card fronts. So that gives you some versatility there. So that's what I did with that one, and that's card number 4. Now for card number 5, I wanted to do something a little bit different. And so Still pretty much a basics from the kit. So this is a 4 1/4 by 11 basic white thick cardstock made to fold at the top. Then I cut apart another one of the envelopes, and let me show you how I made this card. So let me find one of those envelopes to cut apart. I'm going to use a different colored envelope this time. I'm going to put a yellow one on the front. And so to cut apart the envelopes, if you just put them in here and just cut like 1/16 of an inch off of each edge like that with your cutting plate here, then it will open up and you can finish cutting it to get the size that you want. And so I'm going to start with this and get that bottom section cut off. I won't keep that. I'm going to just let that go. Then I'm going to turn it, and I want this to be 4 inches wide. So I'm going to cut it at 4 inches. Then I'm going to take this white edge off here. And then this I want to be 5 1/4. So I'm going to put that over here and take that other white edge off like that. And that gives me what I'm going to use on my card front. Now I'm also going to use some of this, and I'm going to take that seam off. I'm going to lay it right on the cutting thing, on the cutting groove, and I'm going to get rid of that seam where the flap folded. I'm going to save that. I might use it later. And then I want this to be at least a 1/2 inch wide. So I'm going to go to the 1 inch mark to start with. And I'm going to cut that. And then I'm going to cut it here because it's white's going to start showing. And so I'm going to cut it there and get rid of that piece. And then this should be, let's see, it's going to end up being 3 1/2, I think. And that's okay. We'll see what if we want to use that or not. Okay, so we've got that and the base card. So let me get that, and we'll start putting this together, and I'll show you the inside in just a moment. So here's the base card, and let's bone folder that, burnish that, so it will lay down nicely. And then I'm going to attach this to the front with just regular adhesive. And it's going to have that 1/8 inch border all the way around. Get that right where I want it. There we go. Like that. Make sure I've got it right. Okay. Then I'm going to attach this. Now I took and cut this out of the pieces. It came with 3 sentiments, you know, French, German, and English. And I cut it out, and then I pulled away the outside of it rather than trying to pull this up first, because it's really tricky and it might tear. It's kind of thin and fragile. And then I'm going to try this. I've seen this trick before, and I'm going to try it now. And that is, you take some of this Glad Press and Seal, and it's cling wrap that can be used to seal when you're putting things in the refrigerator. And but it's got just a slightly sticky surface to it so that it'll stick to your dishes. Well, I'm going to try and see if I can get it to stick to this so that it makes it easier to pull it up. Let's find out if that will work. I was going to go over it with my bone folder, which I've managed to lose in my mess over here. You don't know, you can't see all of my mess that's around me. And I'm going to press it down really, really good. And then I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to see if I can't get it to come up with the sticky, yeah, like that. Kind of just gently pull it up. And there you have it, ready to attach to the front of your card. Okay, now I'm going to put my flowers on, and I'm just attaching them with regular adhesive. And I've just got to kind of see where I want them, so because I want this to overlap a little bit. So let's put this one on. It doesn't need a lot, just like that. And then I'm going to put this on, and I want this one to be like this, similar to what they showed you in your instructions. And it's going to kind of go underneath, get a hold of this, underneath here just a little bit. And then I'm going to press this into place. Just like that. Now you're just going to very carefully and slowly at an angle pull this off. And like I say, I've seen this before, and it just, it's so cool. There, that way your pieces aren't all stretched out of shape. They hold their shape, and they just work beautifully. Now, on this particular card, I put Wink of Stella on the Thinking of You. On this one, I think I'm going to leave it plain, just so you can see the difference. But that's what I did with the card front. Now, for the card inside, I used one of these lovely bouquet pieces, and I made a pop-up card. So it stands up. You can see the gap there. And very simple pop-up card. So here's how I did it. This piece is a 1/2 inch wide by 3 inches long. It is scored at a 1/2 inch, 1.5 inches, and 2.5 inches, or a 1/2 inch from each end and in the center. Okay, so it will create a piece that looks like this when it's folded, like a big W. Okay, you're going to put that inside the card, and here's how I did that. This is 1 inch from here to this fold is 1 inch, so it has to stand out from the fold 1 inch. So I am going to put a light pencil mark in here at the 1/2 point. So a 4 1/4 is 2 1/8, so that's the center point from side to side. And then I'm going to come down 1 inch and put a slight mark, just a very slight mark right there. And I'm going to put glue, because this is a tension piece, and tape, and that won't hold. So I'm going to put glue on this piece right here, as soon as I can get some glue to come down. There we go. And I am going to place this on that line, just like that, centered from side to side. Make sure I get it on there straight. Okay, so that's the first piece. Then I'm going to just close it down, and I'm going to put some glue on this piece. And I am going to close the card and let that stick. And then when you open it up, this is what you get. Okay, does that make sense? I hope so. Okay, now I am just going to take and put some glue right here on this piece, and I am going to stick the bouquet on that, just like that, so that when it closes, oops, I have to tuck it down, just like that. And you want to keep it above this fold, because it's going to fold down and close. And then when it opens up, there you have it. You have a card that pops up a bouquet inside. Now, that does leave this piece here. And what I did with this card is I was able to save a piece from the envelope, and I put it across. Now, this piece I saved did not come out long enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this one, since it matches the front to a large degree. And I'm just going to put this on here with regular adhesive and cover up that little tab that I used to make my pop-up card. And I'm just gonna put it right there like that. It gives it something to rest on. And I like that. I think that looks pretty nice. Get my light up here so you don't have shadows. I'm trying to do that for you. Okay, so there's that. And so that is card number 4. Number 5, I mean. And I hope you enjoyed today's Paper Pumpkins alternatives. So let me go through them and show them to you one more time. There's 1. 2. 3. I don't know where number 4 went. Number 5. Oh, and here's well, those are both number 5s. So I don't know where I threw it. Oh, here it is. Like I say, if you saw my desk, you'd be wondering. And here's the last one right here on top. So again, I hope you enjoyed today's Paper Pumpkin alternatives for February of 2021. I still have tons, literally tons of pieces and parts left. I haven't even gotten to making anything with the foil or anything using these lovely sentiment tags. As you can see, I do have 4 thinkings of you. That is because I can put stuff into my silhouette and cut out some extras, so I have some extras to work with, so I can show you how it works. But there you have it. Glad you stopped by.